So hello everyone. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here with you today. And so, as was said, my name is Constance Domenech and I work for the German Archaeological Institute. And today I'm going to present to you a project that we have been working on for a few years called Kulturgutretter, which is a cultural heritage response unit. So in a few words, our goal with this project is to develop and maintain capacities in Germany to provide first aid to cultural heritage in the event of the crisis and within the framework of international disaster relief. And we want to be able to do this both for movable and immovable heritage. And what we design is that we embed cultural heritage experts directly into a technical humanitarian response mission. So I'm going to present to you our project in three parts. First, how we designed it. Then I will focus on the digital backbone that we are developing. And finally, what minimal standard procedures we are using. And I will finish with a few words on the updates and what is coming for us in the next month. So everything started in 2019 with a discussion between experts from the cultural heritage sector and the civil protection sector on how we could work together to build something to respond for cultural heritage directly after a crisis. We had things for before, for prevention, we had projects for recovery, but we had nothing to intervene directly when a crisis strikes. So three partners came together. Two come from the cultural heritage sector. They are the Leibniz Institute for Archaeology, LITSA, the German Archaeological Institute, or DAI, and one partner is from the civil protection sector, that is the German Federal Agency for Technical Relief, or THW. So our real strength and specificity is that those three actors have been working together from the beginning, really from the conception phase of the project and until we go together on the field. We have splitted the different parts of the project between our different expertise. So LITSA is an expert in restoration and conservation for objects, so they are in charge of the movable heritage. We at the German Archaeological Institute are responsible for the central coordination. We are also mobilizing our Department for Building Archaeology to be in charge of the immovable heritage, and our IT department is developing the IT and the data management. Of course, the Federal Agency for Technical Relief is in charge of the logistics, for example, transport, setting up the camp, managing the camp once on site. Maybe the reason why we have the central coordination at the German Archaeological Institute is because we are actually a research institution subordinated to the Federal Foreign Office. And we are intended to intervene abroad. So this falls under the umbrella of the Federal Foreign Office. Another reason is that we are active at about 200 sites everywhere in the world. And so we have also a very wide network of partners everywhere on site that we can mobilize when we intervene. So based on all our expertise, we have designed the following integrated team structure for a response unit. So actually we used the model of an international disaster relief team in which we embedded two units. You can see them here at the bottom. So two units dedicated for cultural heritage. So the team leader would usually come or always come from a civil protection sector, while the units will be led by people from the cultural heritage sector, and then both sectors would work together throughout the whole project. To give you an idea, we would be about 40 people for the core team, and this could be scaled up to about 90 people, including local volunteers and partners. So how would we be deployed? So we really want to be within the framework of international disaster relief. So a country, an affected country, makes a request for international assistance, and then other countries can pledge capacities and offer their help. So here we would intervene after the saving life phases is over. We could propose our help to protect cultural heritage if it is required. Most of the time, we are planning on intervening through the Union Civil Protection Mechanism. So how it works is that countries registers capacities or modules in advance with the EU, and when a disaster strikes, the EU will check the availability of those modules and then offer them or propose them to the affected country. So here, Germany would be able to propose its cultural heritage response unit to affected countries. At the moment, actually, the UCPM is developing guidelines for a new module that doesn't exist yet for cultural heritage. So this would be for movable, immovable, and intangible heritage. They are validating what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures, which are step-by-step instructions describing all the phases of the mission and the task to be accomplished, and also defining the resources to be affected to those modules. That means experts and equipment. We are also at the, within the Kulturretter project developing our own standard operating procedures, going further into details on our tasks, so damage assessment, stabilization measures, evacuation, storage for movable and immovable cultural heritage. The idea would be to be deployable within 4 days after the offer is accepted, and we would stay for a minimum of 10 days, and it could be prolonged according to the needs. Because also, yes, we believe that cooperation at the European level is very important. 2 of our partners are members of a project, a European project called ProCultureNet. So it's the DAI and the THW. The goal of this project is really at the European level to encourage dialogue between cultural heritage and civil protection, and to build a thematic community in this area to continue to work and be better integrated. So several countries are involved, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Turkey, and also the organization ICROM. And we have published several valuable documents. If you don't know them yet, I encourage you to download them. They are on the internet. There is the key elements for European methodology, which was published by the previous project, ProCulture. And as with ProCultureNet, we have published 2 technical bulletins containing detailed articles on different phases of the disaster cycle management. So the project is actually ending at the end of the year. We have our conference on December 6th. I think today's the last day to register online if you want to participate. And we are lucky because the project will continue starting in January with ProCultureNet 2 until the end of 2025. So you will probably hear more from this. So now I'm moving on to the digital backbone. So we are trying to develop a robust and dedicated digital infrastructure to accompany the project through all the phases. That means in preparation, in the field, and then for post-operation processing. The goal here is to have a structured package of data that we can hand over to the concerned country or institutions once we leave. And the data have to be compatible with the existing data structure and also be able to go through further processing. So what we did, this is for in the run-up to an operation, we would gather all the available information on the site in a GIS project, so that are photos, videos, satellite images, floor plans if it's a building, inventories if it's a collection, and everything would be made available on mobile devices for experts on site. Here we have an example for what we did as an exercise in a way for Marrakesh, because we were not active on site, but we used it to see which information we can gather. So we created this project bringing together information about the cultural heritage in Marrakesh and the zone affected by the earthquake, and brought it together in a GIS project. So we use Copernicus, the European system, and also satellite images provider like Maxar to develop this kind of maps. Then once on site, on the disaster site, our experts will be able to collect their own information using the same mobile devices and using also softwares that we have specially adapted. So here you have an example for immovable heritage. We are using a software called IDI Field, which was originally developed by the German Archaeological Institute for Excavations, and we have further extended it to adapt it to the rapid assessment and recording of damages on buildings. So you can enter information about the building, the walls, the floors, everything that concerns the floor plan and the damages. So these pictures were taken during a summer school that we organized in Rome in September to really test our workflows for immovable heritage. So the digital documentation also concerns movable heritage. For example, if we have to evacuate a collection. So here we also use another software which is called QField. It's open source, and we have also further developed it to include predefined forms where we could record all the information about the object and the damages. We have also developed some ID cards with unique QR codes, and the idea is here to give a unique identification number to each object. And the card is assigned to one object and can then follow the object through the whole process of stabilization, storage. We try to have something that is flexible because we know sometimes we won't have the time on the moment to assign a card to each object. So actually a QR code can be assigned to one object, a group of objects, all the objects in a room, or all the objects in a building if necessary. And afterwards, it is possible to split those codes into different numbers, to reassign them, or to merge them if you realize that actually you have two pieces of the same object and you bring them together. And all the information about the treatment that the object will receive is also directly stored as data thanks to those cards. So now I'm going to talk a bit about the minimal standard procedures. So this is something we developed to make sure that we have a uniform quality throughout our work, even if we are having different teams working at different locations and not being able to communicate with each other. So the MSPs are about three things: the documentations, the assessment to set priorities, and the first emergency treatment that are carried out on the objects. So for immovable heritage, most of the time, the first measures will happen directly on site, on the building itself. But for movable heritage, it will happen most of the time on objects that have been evacuated from the building to a safer location, either close to the site or a bit further away. So in order to be able to act anywhere, our partner LITSA has developed this mobile emergency conservation lab, which consists of modular tables and different attachments for documentation, wet cleaning, dry cleaning, and packaging. It is designed to be universal. That means it can treat at the same time paintings, archives, natural history collection, archaeological collections, any type of materials. And it can also be scaled up or down depending on the size of the objects or the amount of the objects. And of course, the little ID cards that I showed you before will follow all along in all the stations to record what happened to the object at the different points. Our lab is designed to be easily assembled and dismantled using very easy tools and just a few people. And they fit into aluminum boxes matching international standards for transportation. So they can be carried out, carried through by airplanes to anywhere in the world very easily. So to test all of our minimal standard procedures, we actually organized a practical test in Dresden a few weeks ago, a month ago. And we were the three partners of Kulturgutretter together, so LITSA, the DAI, and the THW. And we also received the support of the Dresden Emergency Alliance, which is an organization bringing together cultural heritage experts from different museums or cultural organizations, and they train together, they practice together, they mutualize resources, and they so provided volunteers for us. And we were close to 60 people during 3 days to test everything. One day was for setup, one day for the exercise itself, and one day to pack and to debrief. So here you can see that the THW built a tent village, which is actually exactly what they built when they go on a disaster site for humanitarian help. They also provided electricity, water, all the utilities that were necessary. And then we deployed our lab within those tents. So the first step is the checking and triage. So all the objects that have been evacuated are brought to this first station where they are documented, and then they are divided between the different stations for restoration. So you can see here we have wet cleaning or dry cleaning, depending on the material, depending on the damage that the object has suffered. And here it is always professional restorers who are intervening to provide really the first emergency stabilization treatment. Afterwards, once they are clean and dry, the objects are photographed one more. Here you can't really see, but on one of the table, there is also the little card with the QR code that is following all along. And the last step is the packaging, so that the object can be removed safely to a more permanent storage location and await further conservation treatment. While we were working under the tent, there was also another team testing our immovable procedure for immovable heritage. So they used several technologies, such as structure for motion, UAV, 3D laser scanning to record the building and the damages. They also use our apps and software to record everything digitally on the building and on the objects that were in the building. And what we saw is that the use of those different technologies could be very useful in a real scenario, disaster scenario, and also in very large scale area that have been mostly destroyed. So just to finish about this practical test, it really helped us to gather very useful evaluation and feedback on our workflows. And also it proved that our points that we made in the beginning was right, that is that cultural heritage experts and civil protection experts can really work together in an integrated way to protect cultural heritage. So just to finish, this is what we have done so far. So we have, by the end of the year, we have our standard operating procedures nearly validated. We have an integrated team structure that we have agreed upon. We have our mobile lab, which is working and that we have tested on numerous occasions. And we have a robust IT backbone. The goal for next year will be to develop our network of experts and volunteers, so mostly coming from Germany, from other organizations. We're trying to mobilize to have all the different expertise that we need depending on the situation. And we will also carry out more training and more exercise to be able to be ready. Our goal will be soon, I don't know exactly when, but to be able to be deployed for the first time, probably at first for assessment missions before going for the full ones. But yes, this is for the coming year. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm available for any questions. I have also brought some documentation if some of you are interested to know more. And thank you very much for your attention. And thank you again to the organizers for the invitation. Thank you.